Australia isn't playing games when it comes to illegal immigration. It's cracking down hard. We're talking about mass deportations, strict new laws, and policies so intense that human rights groups are practically gasping in shock. The government is dead serious. If your paperwork isn't in order, you could be on the next flight out before you even realize what's happening. But before we dive into the chaos, let's paint the picture. Imagine you're in Australia, soaking up the sun, falling in love with meat pies, and still wondering if those legendary drop bears actually exist. Life's good until you realize there's one big problem. Your visa isn't valid. And trust me, in today's Australia, that's a problem you do not want to have. You're in Australia, living the dream, endless beaches, meat pies that have become your guilty pleasure, and a growing curiosity about whether drop bears are real or just an Aussie prank. But there's a problem, a big one. Your visa is no longer valid. And in today's Australia, that's a very dangerous situation. The government isn't just tightening the rules, it's slamming the door shut. Immigration laws have become stricter than ever, making it ridiculously easy to detain and deport anyone without proper paperwork. That officially makes you an unlawful non-citizen, not exactly an exclusive club you'd want to join. It doesn't matter if you're a tourist who overstayed a little too long or someone stuck in visa limbo. Australia's message is loud and clear. Fix your paperwork or face the consequences. And here's the kicker. Even minor criminal charges could now get you kicked out, sparking massive debates about fairness and human rights. No visa, no mercy. Detention is no longer the exception. It's the rule. And if you thought you had time to sort things out, think again. Think you can slip through the cracks without a valid visa? Think again. Whether you arrived without one, overstayed, or had it canceled, the outcome is the same: detention. No second chances, no get-out-of-jail-free card. The Australian government isn't playing around when it comes to immigration laws, and exceptions, they're as rare as a snowstorm in the outback. Now, you might be thinking, all right, they detain people, but surely they let them go after a while, right? Wrong. If you're caught without a visa, you're left with just two choices. You can either secure a new one, which honestly is about as easy as spotting a kangaroo hopping down Sydney's busiest street, or you get deported. And make no mistake, deportation isn't just an option, it's the automatic response. Once you land in Australia's immigration detention system, getting out is anything but simple. These detention centers aren't just holding areas. They're high-security facilities where undocumented migrants are locked away while their cases drag on. And for many, that means waiting indefinitely. Human rights groups are raising alarms about the harsh conditions and the mental strain faced by detainees, but Australia's government? Unshaken. Their stance is clear. If you're undocumented, you're out. No loopholes, no second chances. Whether you lost track of your visa's expiration or thought you could slip under the radar, the message is brutally simple. Australia doesn't play games with illegal immigration. The moment you're flagged as an unlawful non-citizen, the wheels start turning fast. Arrest, detention, deportation. This isn't a process you can stall or escape from. The Deportation Express makes no stops. And your next destination? Anywhere but Australia. Thinking you can just dig in your heels and refuse to leave? Australia's immigration system is one of the toughest in the world. And once you're in their sights, there's no way out. And here's where it gets even more serious. Under the new laws, simply refusing to cooperate isn't just a headache for officials anymore. It's a crime. Non-compliance can now land you in prison. That's right. Deportation isn't your only worry anymore. Now you could be looking at a jail sentence before you're even kicked out. Australia's government isn't sugarcoating its message. If you don't have a valid visa, your time is officially running out. Whether you walk out willingly or are dragged out in cuffs, the result is the same. You're leaving. So if you're stuck in visa limbo, you might want to fix things before the authorities step in and do it for you. Enter the Migration Amendment Bill, a law so strict, it feels like something ripped straight from a dystopian novel. This new legislation doesn't just tighten the rules, it crushes any hope of slipping through the cracks. If you refuse to comply with deportation orders, you won't just be removed from the country, you could end up behind bars. That's right, prison time is now on the table. making it nearly impossible for undocumented individuals to stay in Australia. The government's message is crystal clear: cooperate or face the consequences. Some say this crackdown is too cruel, punishing people who are already struggling. But the Australian government, they see it as necessary, a tough but essential move to tighten immigration control. Love it or hate it, one thing is clear: Australia is slamming the door shut on illegal non-citizens. And if you're on the wrong side of the law, you might as well start packing because deportation is coming. If you're wondering who's on the chopping block, here's the deal. 1. Serious criminals. If you've committed a major crime and spent at least 1 year behind bars, Australia's done with you. 2. The character test failures. Sounds like a Hogwarts exam, right? Wrong. This is a strict legal check to see if you're a danger to the community. Fail it? Good luck staying. 3. Visa violators. Whether your visa expired, got canceled, or you sneaked in illegally, Australia won't look the other way. Simply put, break the rules, and Australia slaps a return to sender label on you. The Australian government isn't taking any chances when it comes to illegal immigrants. In fact, they've made it easier than ever to arrest and deport anyone who doesn't meet their strict requirements. No gray areas, no loopholes, just swift action. But here's where the debate heats up. Supporters say these tough rules keep communities safe, while critics argue they unfairly target the most vulnerable. Love it or hate it, one thing is undeniable: Australia is cracking down hard, and there's no room for second chances. Now, let's talk about Australia's next big move: deporting people to a third country instead of sending them back home. Sounds extreme? Well, for Australia, it's just another way of saying, not our problem. Just when you thought things couldn't get any stricter, Australia is now exploring a shocking new tactic: deporting people to third countries instead of their homeland. Sounds bizarre? Imagine this. You're from country A. You arrive in Australia without the right paperwork. But instead of sending you back to country A, Australia ships you off to country B, a place you have no connection to. And if things go horribly wrong for you there, well, Australia just shrugs and says, "Not our problem, mate." Yes, you heard that right. Under this plan, the government would also be immune from lawsuits, even if deportees end up in dangerous or life-threatening situations. Critics warn that this ruthless approach puts people at severe risk, especially refugees or those escaping violence. But the government insists it's about tightening borders and stopping people from exploiting the system. If these laws pass, getting deported from Australia won't just mean going home. It could mean getting sent somewhere you never even imagined. One day you're in Sydney, the next you're in a completely different country, wondering, how did I even end up here? Not everyone is on board with these new laws. Human rights groups are furious, calling them harsh, unfair, and downright dangerous. And they have a point. Some people facing deportation actually have legitimate reasons to stay. People who have lived in Australia for decades and built a life there. Families who could be ripped apart overnight. But with the government's brutal crackdown, many fear that innocent people could slip through the cracks and end up in unsafe, unfamiliar places. If you're detained in Australia, don't expect a quick exit. The country operates several immigration detention centers, both on the mainland and in offshore locations. Some people are stuck in these centers for months or even years, waiting to find out where they'll be sent, if anywhere at all. Is this strict immigration policy necessary? Or has Australia gone too far? One thing is clear. If you don't have the right papers, the government doesn't care where you end up, as long as it's not their problem. Let's just say you won't find these places in any travel guide. Immigration detention centers aren't exactly luxury resorts. Some people end up stuck there for months or even years, caught in a never-ending waiting game with bad food and no clear future. So, what's next for migrants? If you think these brutal policies won't affect a lot of people, think again. Thousands could find themselves in trouble, from tourists who accidentally overstay their visas to long-term residents who never secured permanent status. And here's the real kicker. Even small legal issues can now get you kicked out of the country. That's right, something as simple as a minor offense could mean goodbye, Australia. Supporters of these laws say it's all about keeping order and protecting the country's immigration system. But critics argue that this crackdown is too extreme and unfairly targets vulnerable people. What do you think? Are these laws necessary, or has Australia taken things too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell, and stay tuned for more eye-opening videos. Thanks for watching.